If you're in the market for investment-worthy bags, watches, and fine jewelry, Rebag is the answer. Rebag is a luxury resale marketplace where each piece is carefully vetted and verified by experts to ensure quality and authenticity. If you're in the market, use Rebag to buy and sell finds from the world's top brands, including Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier. Head to Rebag.com to get 10% off your first purchase with code REBAG10. Shop today at Rebag.com. That's REBAG.com and use promo code REBAG10 for 10% off your first purchase.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Hello everyone, and welcome into the Friday walkthrough. I'm Cole Carmody alongside Monty Spiller. K-State beats Oklahoma State on Saturday, 48-0 to improve to 6-2. They are now number 13 in the college football playoff, and yet they are also in second place, all alone, controlling their own destiny to make a spot in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, we talked about the opportunity that was ahead of us going into this past week's game. You know, if we get a win, we basically set ourselves up to be in second place and potentially win out or win enough games to be back in Dallas for the Big 12 championship game. And for me personally, hopefully see TCU again with a healthy roster. And I'm excited for the opportunity to beat up on them. But let's talk about the now and not the future. But K-State wins a big game this past weekend. It was awesome to watch.
Yeah, we got a long ways to go before we can start talking about Arlington. But we'll talk about that game against the Cowboys on Saturday, 48-0 in the first half. In the second half, we'll break down K-State and Texas on Saturday. Harley Day, Harley Night, 6 o'clock kickoff. But before we do any of that, we want to let you know we are sponsored by our good friends at the Part-Time Beverage Company. The first half is sponsored by the Club Special. The second half is sponsored by the Cape Cod. Make sure you're hitting subscribe on the YouTube channel. It really helps our algorithm on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing to wherever you get your podcasts, and also GoPowerCat.com. So let's talk about this game against Oklahoma State, because they came out of the gate absolutely on fire. First drive, they moved the ball down the field. 4th and 5, I'm sitting up there in the press box and thinking maybe they should punt the ball, be a little bit conservative. You're probably going to have a close game. Don't want to give them a short field. And then they have a false start on the running back, which never happens with Deuce Vaughn. So guess what happens? 4th and 10. Now everybody in the stadium, except for Chris Kleiman, is thinking that they're going to punt the ball. So what do? They go for it. Yeah. And they don't even just get the first down, but they score a touchdown. It was an incredible series of events.
Yeah, it was crazy. And at that moment, you kind of knew, or you had a feeling that it was going to go our way. And the confidence that Will Howard showed and the throw that he made to Cade Warner, a lot of people don't realize, he broke the pocket, was going to his left, and to make a throw, going to your left on a rope with guys chasing you in the corner of the end zone, that takes a lot of skill. And he did it with ease. I don't want to say ease, but he did it with confidence. And at that point, the crowd was going crazy, and it felt good. We had a feeling that, hey, this is our day. And
you really don't understand, like you mentioned, that is such a difficult throw, because not only is he trying to fit the ball past the cornerback, he's trying to fit it in before the safety gets there too, and he has to worry about the sideline. Yeah. That's 3 defenders that he has to make sure that don't interfere with the play. And Cade Warner, I mean, what can you say? He has just turned into a playmaking machine. He's not the biggest guy. No. He's not the strongest guy. He's not the fastest guy. But he does all the little things right, and it's remarkable to see that. You're right. When that happened, I think everybody who was watching that game, including the Oklahoma State people, felt like we might be in trouble.
Like, uh-oh. And you're right. And it's the one thing I noticed, too, about that play, and throughout the rest of the game, for me watching, and I wasn't at the game live, I watched it on TV, but for me watching the game, Will's demeanor showed his maturity. And his growth. If you go 2 years ago, last year, it's a different person. But he looked like he belonged. Well, he does belong. But he looked like he belonged to be a starting quarterback of a Big 12 team, K-State, in a major game on big-time TV. And maybe it was just me, but his physical presence seemed to dominate. He looked like a legit starting quarterback for a big-time program. And the confidence just showed the whole game.
He is 6'5", 250 pounds.
He looked every bit of it.
He did. He did. And he's always kind of been a bigger guy,
Yeah,
but
man.
he's turned that baby fat into grown man strength.
Yep.
And he played remarkable. Obviously, he earned Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. Ty Zentner, a Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week as well. Player of the Year, Player of the Week for Will Howard. So, yeah, just a great overall performance by K-State. I want to break it down a little bit because we talked about if they wanted to win this game, we felt like they would have to do it on the ground. Deuce Vaughn had to have a big day. Maybe they could exploit Oklahoma State's run defense, specifically their linebackers. Against Texas, Oklahoma State gave up a lot of inside zone, a lot of power. And what do you know? In the first half, K-State runs double power with Deuce Vaughn, 60 yards down the field for a touchdown. The offensive line absolutely dominated.
They did. And I'm going to give, to our watchers and listeners, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. You called it. You said you would be surprised if we don't run inside zone and run the ball inside because of Oklahoma State's tendencies to give up the run. And sure enough, K-State came out. They hit the inside hard. The O-line, I remember watching one replay, and it was kind of on social media, the wham block, where the fullback I don't know who the D tackle was, but he violated the guy. Right. But he just destroyed the guy. And hoes were there all game. And O-line, like they've been doing all year long, dominated, led the way, and Deuce had a day for himself.
And I don't know if it's just a swagger, if it's a personality that this team is taking on, but it just feels like every single time they step on the field, they know that they are more physical than the opponent. We kind of felt like early on in the season that might be the case with this group. But as they've started to gain confidence, I truly believe every time K-State steps on the field, they are the more physical team. Now, they might be tested with Texas a little bit.
They will be.
But it feels like you can, if you're a K-State fan, you can go to bed on Friday nights knowing that on Saturday, the trenches will be favored for K-State.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I love about our guys, and our team as a whole, but especially our O-line, you get, and right now, we're looking like bullies in a good way. A lot of times you get teams that like to bully other teams, and they talk and chirp in good game, and they're running them out the whole game. And our guys aren't. Our guys, especially up front, they're whooping your butt, and they huddle back up, they high-five each other, get the play, and do it again. And to the point where you get so frustrated, you get so defeated, because you know they're coming back again and again, and they're just dominating. And like you said, our O-line is more physical than any team D-line we've seen so far at this point. Will we be tested at Texas? Absolutely. Against Texas? Absolutely. But I'm confident that we'll hold on.
And it'll be interesting to see, because I know there was some rain forecast, and I think that's going to be Friday night now, so it should be a nice day on Saturday, but I don't think that matters. I think that this team up front on offense is really finding their stride. What's really cool, and this hasn't been talked a lot about, but there's 3 Kansas kids that start on the interior of that offensive line. Cooper Beebe from Kansas City, Hayden Gillum, Plainsville, and then Hadley Panzer from Lakin. 2 really small school kids, and then another 4A kid in Cooper Beebe. And the edges, though, those guys are from Texas.
Yeah.
Christian Duffy and KT Leviston. They are going to have a chip on their shoulder, and we'll talk about that in the second half when we talk about what this game means for the Texas kids. But it was just remarkable how well they played, and it carried on throughout the whole entire game. It wasn't just the big plays. It was the continuous 6-7-yard runs that they had. Even at the end of the game, DJ Giddens got in and ran for a touchdown. That is a mantra that not only the offensive line, but the offense as a whole is developing.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we're getting good enough. We're getting to the point where we're continuing to get better every week, and we have different tools we can use every week. We're not relying on Deuce on every down. And Deuce is in there making blocks, running the ball. Then you got Giddens that comes in if needed. And every time he comes in, he's getting positive yards. I can't remember a game this year where he hadn't got at least 3 yards plus, you know. And then you got the fullbacks doing a great job. Kate Warner, he stepped up, honestly, to be probably our leading receiver right now, and you got Nose and the other receivers that are doing their job as well. But as a whole, everybody is doing their part, and the offense, I'm not going to say it's complete right now, but they're playing well. And Coach Klein, he is calling phenomenal games. I think last Saturday probably was his best game of his tenure.
I would agree. I think everything he did was working out. Obviously, when you score 35 points in the first half, it's going to be nice, right? You take a 35-point lead into the locker room, that's good. But I wrote down the one thing that I noticed the most: inside zone, power plays, and the screen plays. That is So you have to trust your offensive line so much. Think about that screen pass to Malik Knowles.
Yeah.
That was all on the offensive line. Then you had the screen pass even to Malik Knowles on a 4th and 2. I think it was in the second half, where Ben Sinnott has to go out and make a block in order for Malik to come across and catch the ball. This game, as great as Will Howard played, don't get me wrong, Will Howard had the best game of his career, and he deserves everything that he is getting right now. This game was really won because of the interior of the offensive line, of the running game, opening things up for Will Howard.
Absolutely. And it's funny you talk about some of the play calling that's going on in the O-line, but I can't help, and you would understand too, and anybody who's been following K-State football for the last 20-plus years, if not more, a lot of those calls are similar calls that Coach Klein ran, and even before him. And if you look at the screen game, Quincy Morgan made a living off of that back in the day. James Terry, a couple other guys did it as well. Figures, those guys made a killing off the screen game. And if you can get the screen game going, that basically is an additional blocker for you, because when you get defenses that are so aggressive and they can get upfield, and you get big boys that can run like we have downfield on linebackers and defensive backs, game's over. Good luck against that. But yeah, the O-line, I know a lot of times they don't get a lot of love from the media, but honestly, and they would never get player of the game. But if you could name a group for players of the game, absolutely, offensive line.
And especially on the offensive side.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Let's talk about the defense, because we came in thinking this is probably going to be a high-scoring game, right? You got the nation's number 3 scoring offense at 45 points per game gets held to 0. That is the first time that a team that is ranked lower than a top 10 team shut them out since I believe 1967 was the last time that happened by this point margin. So you witnessed history on Saturday if you were at the game or watching it on TV. That was a historic performance. Dare I say it was the best defensive performance, or really any performance by any single unit in college football anywhere throughout the entire season.
Yes, if you find something that you can compare it to, let me know, because we were at home, but quality team is a quality team. They're ranked higher than us, and they have the skilled guys to score. They didn't kick a field goal. So, and when you shut a team out at any level, that is a great accomplishment. But especially at the highest level of college football, your defense is balling out. And so that right there has to be the greatest performance for us personally, for K-State, and maybe for the weekend, and maybe for the year. I don't know. I haven't watched every game. But for the last 3 weeks, absolutely.
And what's crazy is they never even made it into the red zone.
Nope.
0 for 0 in the red zone, did not make it to the 25-yard line. Inside the 20, that is remarkable. Yeah. I'd be hard-pressed to see the last time that happened this year throughout around college football. That is impressive. The defense was tremendous. I mean, no questions. Without Daniel Green, Nick Allen, the former walk-on, comes up, makes big-time plays. Julius Brents and Josh Hayes both played, and we said both those guys playing is going to make a difference. Julius Brents made his presence known. He had an interception. Yeah. Josh Hayes was all over the field. I mean, just literally a flawless performance by the defense. No,
they played well. A lot of guys, you mentioned Nick Allen and more, they played well in the middle for backers. And then, Brents, he made his presence known. But the guy that people tend to forget about is Echo. He didn't have the physical attributes as far as height as Brents, but the kid can fly. He can run like crazy. He's a Lawrence High kid, another Kansas kid. But he got targeted a lot. And he won some, he lost some, but he battled every play, and he continues to get better. And it's going to come a point where you pick on him enough, he going to get you, and he going to make you pay. So I feel like guys grew even more so this week. And one thing we talked about before, with injuries, we were forced to play some younger guys, and they had quality minutes, and there was no letdown. Towards the end of the game, when some of the young guys came in, there was no letdown, and they had their pride. And I kept telling myself, that's the old lynch mob defense mentality.
Yep. You talk about young guys. One of the guys that stepped up a lot. We thought they might play a little bit more nickel with Daniel Green potentially out.
Yeah.
Jacob Parrish came in, a true freshman of Olathe North, came in, played pretty much the entire game.
He did.
I don't think he got targeted. I don't think they threw at him one time.
Nope.
He was continuously on his man. It was... That defense, those defensive backs might be the best unit in the Big 12, because those guys have shut pretty much everybody down this season. They'll have a test with Xavier Worthy coming up, but I mean, man, that was remarkable. And not even talking about the defensive line. How about Felix Anyudike Uzama getting to the quarterback in less than 2 seconds, it seems like. Anytime he's single blocked. Felix told us in media day, he said he saw a stat. I don't know if this is true or not. I'd have to look it up. Every single time he has been unblocked or he's been single blocked, he's got a sack this season.
I can believe it.
I 100% could believe it too.
Even if he didn't, he's pretty dang close. And one thing about him, his motor goes. And man, you know, it's one of those things where you see a kid play, but his smile is infectious and his celebration dance, and the crowd goes crazy. His teammates love it, and they just can support each other wholeheartedly, and they're having fun. And going back to the secondary real quick, those guys are so confident. You know, if you play, and anybody played secondary at any level, Pee-wee, high school, college, pro, you have to have confidence. You have to, because if not, you're going to get beat and mental toll will take toll on you. But those guys are confident across the board, and that's a domino effect. It's from the D-line to the linebackers to secondary. They all trust each other. They play great football.
I want to ask you this before we wrap up the first half and get into the second half. Have you ever been a part of such a total butt whooping as K-State put on Oklahoma State on Saturday? Any level. Because I just find it to be very rare that a team at any level beats a team 48-0, where it's a pretty much a quality opponent.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because I know I was part of a couple of games where we put up 60-something, like against the Bowling Green and a couple other schools. But as far as ranked opponent, it's kind of hard to remember. I'm getting old. I can't think of anything on top of my head. I'm pretty sure I was part of games where we dominated, but as far as a shutout, I can't remember.
It just is remarkable how well they played. It just goes to show you how much of a historical performance it was. It is a game that K-State fans will not soon forget. If you're in attendance, I don't know if they still have paper tickets, save that ticket, because you just witnessed some history there. Yeah. 48-0, K-State beats Oklahoma State. When we come back here on the Friday walkthrough for the second half, we'll wrap up the show by talking about K-State versus Texas in arguably the biggest game of the season. We'll find out. We'll talk about it right after this short break.
Is your January looking dry? Get some lotion. Get a humidifier. And better yet, get Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can compare prices across local stores to get the best price on a huge selection of drinks perfect for dry January. Every single time. Non-alcoholic wines? Have a look. Ready-made mocktails? Grab a straw and order them up. Beer without the alcohol? Yep, take your pick. You can find all of them here, in the app, in that phone that's in your hand. Could it be any simpler? Nope, not a chance. So shop for great deals on all your dry January beverages or other drinks and get them delivered to your door or blanket fort, maybe. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations. And don't forget to lotion up your elbows. They're looking a little dry.
Welcome back in here to the Friday walkthrough. I'm Cole Carmody alongside Monty Spiller. The first half was sponsored by the Part-Time Beverage Company, more specifically the Drink the Club special. The second half will be sponsored by the Cape Cod. Make sure you're hitting subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Let's break down this K-State versus Texas game. K-State comes in, ready for this, 2.5-point underdogs. Monty, please help me make sense of that.
You know, if I had the right answer, I would tell you, but I don't. Honestly, I don't know why. You know, and it is what it is. It's college football. It's maybe it's the brand of Texas versus the brand of K-State. Austin, Texas, Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. You know, you got the big boys with the big money. You got the local folks, the farm community. But it don't matter. But I look at it this way. Use it as motivation. I know our kids are probably aware of it, and that's fine. We like being an underdog, because when we're an underdog and you think you're better than us, we always show you different. So I'm okay with it.
And what's interesting about this, too, is Texas, their last 2 games, they have not covered the spread. Mm-hmm. So they lost, and then they barely beat Iowa State, which we'll talk about here in a second.
Squeak by.
I don't put any line into that stock. So we don't really talk about gambling on this show, but just saying, don't put any line in that stock whatsoever. I'm going to tell you why you're not going to put line in money into that stock, because K-State is the better team in this matchup. I truly believe that. Now, Texas has some playmakers, and that's where I want to start. Yeah. But I believe K-State can handle them. The question is, how do they do it? And the first person that jumps out when you look at Texas is Bijan Robinson, the conference's leading rusher. Deuce Vaughn, not too far behind him, I think only about 70 yards or so. But Bijan Robinson is a man amongst boys running the football. We asked some of the guys how do you stop Bijan Robinson? And we asked Drake Cheatham specifically, a safety who's going to be having to come downhill and make tackles. And he said, Coach Klanderman just says, don't stop running your feet.
Yep, he's right.
Because if you stop running your feet, you're going to end up on your back.
He will. And I've watched Bijan outside of our games, obviously. The kid's special. He's going to be a first-round draft pick sooner than later. He's a physical runner. He runs hard. He's fast. He's a lot faster than people think. But our linebackers, and I'm hoping and praying that Mr. Green is back because we're going to need all of our linebackers healthy because for us to stop them, it starts with stopping the run because Texas goes as he goes. If we can slow him down, we have a great opportunity to beat them. The passing game is good. It's not one that you are fearful of as far as route running, but deep balls, they can kill you on those. But they go as he goes. So we need our D-line and our linebackers healthy, and we need several guys ready to play because we can rotate them and keep them fresh.
And it's kind of like going up against, like a LeBron James or, a Giannis. You know that he is going to get his.
Yes.
There's a good chance he runs for 100 yards.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to make sure that when you get down to the red zone, he's not busting those 25-yard runs when he's on the 33, right? If he wants to get 20 yards when you have him backed up on the 10 or the 15, you can live with that.
Yeah.
But it's about picking and choosing where you can, where he gets his spots. And tightening that defense down in the red zone. I think that's what this is going to come down to for K-State because, Texas is going to be able to move the ball, at least we think. Yeah. The odds of K-State having a repeat performance against Oklahoma State, it's just not likely. Not saying it can't happen. But this defense is good enough to where they can bend but don't break. They haven't done that a lot this year, but they can do that. Yeah. I think it starts with getting Bijan Robinson on the ground. That is mission number one. Mission number two is putting pressure on Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers was 19 of 49 against Oklahoma State. Yeah. 30 incompletions is alarming.
Yeah.
To be brutally honest. He's been banged up this year. Chris Klieman talked about there's not a lot of film on him, but I think you got to get pressure on him. I think that's how you disrupt this Texas offense is you get pressure on the quarterback. Does that mean rushing 3? Does that mean rushing 4? Does that mean blitzing? I don't know, but I feel like you got to get pressure on the quarterback.
I agree. And if you allow him to sit in the pocket comfortable, he can pick you apart. The kid is talented, don't get me wrong. But like you said, it's easy to go and run routes on air, but when somebody's in your face putting hands on you, you find out how good you really are. Same with the quarterback. You're great in the pocket if no pressure on you, but when pressure on you, do you pull the ball and run? Do you go through your progressions? Do you sit in the pocket and take the chance of getting hit? And like you said, he's been banged up, so I highly doubt he's going to sit there comfortably and go through his progressions. He'll probably get happy feet. And I think Coach Klanderman and Coach Klieman will do a good job of bringing blitzes. There's going to be some zone blitzes. There's going to be some man blitzes. It might be delayed blitzes. They might put a spy on certain people. You don't know. But I feel like K-State is good enough and have the athletes to bring different pressure packages against Texas to make them uncomfortable. We might not put pressure. Our D-line's good enough where we can get pressure from our 3 up-front guys, whoever they may be. Any guy can get there and play ball. So, yes, pressure will be very, very important for this game, but it won't be necessary every down. But timely pressure will be a key.
One thing this Texas offense struggled with was the Iowa State defense.
Yes.
And that is an important note because Iowa State runs the 3-3-5, the same type of defense that K-State runs. The Texas offense really stalled out a lot when they got their big plays, and most of them, again, it was big plays, right? They hit some big plays, but they stalled out a lot. They should have lost that game. Iowa State threw an interception in the end zone in that game. Xavier Hutchinson dropped a wide-open pass on the 5-yard line that could have won them the game.
Easily.
And then even on the last play, there was a fumble that many people thought might have been targeting. So there was a lot of interesting things that happened in that Texas and Iowa State game where Texas won. But, I mean, if I'm Joe Klanderman and Chris Klieman, I'm going back to that film. And I'm watching that, and I'm saying, what did Iowa State do successfully to defend them? And I think that is honestly going to be the blueprint for K-State in this game.
It will, and I've said it before on our podcast. And college football or any football for that matter is a copycat league. And if you got film on somebody how to stop them, I'm going to use it. And it's one of those things where you swallow your problems. Like, you know what, they did a great job of setting them up. And I feel like we have better athletes on defense than Iowa State does. And Iowa State has some good players. They have a good scheme, but we have better athletes to stop them. And we're going to probably put into play a lot of what Iowa State did and mix in a few other things that Texas hadn't seen yet. So the blueprint's there. which is good for us. But hopefully we can execute it and have it to be successful against Texas.
And one thing that I think the game plan on defense will be here for K-State, especially when you look at the big play threat, Xavier Worthy, the receiver, who incredibly fast. I mean, we're talking 4.3 speed, probably one of the fastest receivers, if not the fastest receiver in the Big 12. Him and Marvin Mims are probably right there as far as speed goes. I'm wondering if they're going to play more zone because K-State's been a man-heavy team the entire season. Now, the argument can be made where you just pitched a shutout,
right?
You know, playing basically man defense the entire game. Why would you change it? But when you look at Quinn Ewers, the one thing I notice, he has a tendency when he gets in trouble to lob the ball in the air. He relies on his playmakers at the receiver position to make plays for him. If you can confuse and go zone and even mix it up, one down you play man, one down you play zone, mix up the defense, I think that might contribute to some turnovers for K-State because Quinn Ewers is extremely talented, but I question the coachability aspect of Texas. I question the discipline. When we talk about K-State's offense and their defense, we'll definitely get into that. But I'm wondering if they're going to try and disguise some things on defense on Saturday.
I would say yes, absolutely. But also, we do a good job of using what we have. And Brent is a taller corner. And if anybody's actually watched him play man defense, he's physical. And one thing I watch with Worthy, he does not like it when guys get hands on him. He wants a free release to run up the field, use that speed and that height and that length to go get the ball. If you disrupt him, he gets frustrated easily. And I can guarantee Brent will get in his back pocket, get hands on him early, and get him frustrated. And I'm not saying he's going to quit, but that's going to make a big difference on how hard he's going to go, speaking about Worthy, for the full game. And I wouldn't be surprised to see K-State run a little bit of two-man, lock down below and have safety help over the top, and that still allows the safety to be supportive in the run game if needed. So, like you said, it'd be a mix of zone and man, but I think K-State will do a good job of it.
It'll be interesting because, again, there's just so many possibilities that they can do after pitching that shutout because Texas has to be prepared for, okay, well, they're going to do this. This is what they did so well. So, like we said, maybe you mix it up or maybe you just go with your bread and butter. K-State, basically, they have all the cards here. They're the ones who are controlling what they want to do. We flip it over to the offensive side. The big question is who starts at quarterback? I'm just going to make this really simple for you. Healthy Adrian Martinez, healthy Will Howard. On Saturday, who should start?
I've been asked this question several times this week, and I'm gonna tell you the same way I told other people, Martinez. And the reason being, he won the starting job at the beginning of the year. The reason why he didn't play prior to the game was because of injury, not because how he played, but because of injury. And I'm a firm believer in if he was a starter prior to injury, he should get the opportunity to maintain and keep his job. But the good news is, if he goes out and he's not playing well, you're comfortable with going with Will. And the one thing I'm happy about is I genuinely believe if Adrian starts, Will's okay with it. And then vice versa. If Adrian's not ready, he's okay with Will starting. And he's comfortable knowing that Will can lead the team to victory. But if you have to make a choice, if you got a healthy Adrian and a healthy Will, you go with Adrian. And at that point, you go with the game and then see how things pan out.
I think these guys have such a good relationship with one another that you're right. They want what's best for the team. There's no way Will Howard sticks around K-State unless he wants what's best for the team.
Absolutely.
Adrian Martinez has been through hell the past 4 years at Nebraska. Let's just call it how it is. He wants to win more than anything. There's a reason he went into the locker room and told Chris Kleiman and Colin Klein, hey, I can play. I can do this. I'm not 100%. But if you need me, I can play. And it was then when they said, okay, Will, you're starting. And Adrian was totally on board with it. That is a selfless player, selfless. Both those guys are selfless teammates. You're right, and I'm with you. I think Adrian should start if he's healthy. Now, if he's not fully healthy, you go with Will.
Will.
That's totally okay. But I think if Adrian is healthy, you go with Adrian Martinez. Let's not forget, he was in the Heisman conversation for a little bit.
Yes, he was.
So he definitely can handle whatever is thrown his way. I will say it's worth noting, Will Howard has started the last 2 seasons against Texas. He started the last 2 seasons against Oklahoma State. They both resulted in losses. The last 2 starts for Howard against Texas have resulted in losses. So if he starts, maybe he is on a little revenge tour. We'll see about that. But when you look at this Texas defense, the stats are not good for them.
No.
They are 63rd in total defense and 92nd in passing defense.
Yeah. One thing about Texas, and it holds true for the last several years, they have they have a bunch of great players, but they don't play as a team. And guys show their greatness in flashes, but they can run down anybody, they can hit anybody, they can tackle anybody, but as far as playing as a team, they have mental breakdowns, there's communication, there's mental errors, they don't finish plays, they're pointing fingers, and all of a sudden things go bad, and the Texas defense with all these 4- and 5-star guys can't stop a team full of walk-ons, 3-star guys, 2-star guys, transfers, and that holds true. And I think K-State will take advantage of that.
And this is what I wanted to talk about when it comes to discipline.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, again, if this is a game where you can establish the run and you're getting 6-7 yards, then there starts to be a little chirpiness.
Yeah.
The linebackers start chirping at the D-line, the D-line starts chirping at the linebackers, and then you hit them with a big play. I think that's going to be the motive for K-State in this game. We just talked about they're not very good giving up the pass. No. I mean, you go back and watch the Iowa State film, they made Hunter Dekkers look good.
Yes.
And that is a challenge.
Yeah, he looked phenomenal.
They made him look good. That is a challenge. So there's going to be opportunities through the air, but I think that's why establishing the run is so important, because then they become desperate.
They do. Yeah.
And when you make a defense become desperate, that's when you start hitting big plays like we saw against Oklahoma State.
Yeah. And honestly, me watching K-State football, I feel like K-State hasn't showed their hand. I feel like there's something in their back pocket that they're going to pull out come Saturday and be like, aha, watch this. And they're going to do what they do. But I feel like there's something that we haven't seen as far as the run game, the pass game, schemes, personnel, 2 tight end, fullback, whatever it may be. We haven't showed that. And I feel like it's coming. I don't know what it is, but I feel like something that Texas is not prepared for. And Coach Klein is going to be like, all right, here, now's the time. Let's roll. So I'm excited for it. And I don't think Texas defense will be prepared for it.
We alluded to it earlier in the show. There's just something for these kids from Texas on K-State's roster about playing UT. Sure, you play TCU, it's TCU. You play Baylor, it's Baylor, Texas Tech, fine. But you play UT, you of all people know, it is completely different. When you played at K-State, you had a bunch of teammates from Texas as well.
Right.
Is there added juice? I mean, players can tell the media, oh, it's just another game. But surely there's a little bit of added fire in their belly when you're preparing for UT.
It is. And for me, being a Texan myself, and I'll be the first to admit, we, not all, but a large majority of us kind of arrogant. It's a Texas pride, and some of us throw it in your face, but a lot of us are just prideful people where we from, and like where you from Dallas, it's one of those things. But when you're in Texas and you are at an A&M or TCU or SMU, any smaller school, Texas Tech, in the state, everybody collectively hates Texas because they are one of the biggest universities in the nation and in the state of Texas, and they have lots of money, deep pockets, deep history, and tradition. I give them that, but they haven't been dominant in years, and their fans act like they have, and that adds more. And then also, if you're a Texas kid and Texas didn't recruit you, even if you didn't want to go to Texas, and they didn't recruit you, you take it personal.
That's exactly what Felix talked about with Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
And again, I look for him to have a big day.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm excited for him.
It's going to be a great game for all those Texas kids. You think of Kobe Savage. We talked about Christian Duffy, KT Leviston. There's a lot of guys on that team, a lot of key contributors from that team from the state. So, there's a little added fire in their belly, I would have to assume. As we wrap up the show, we're going to get to predictions here. I'm very excited for this game. I think that K-State has everything they need to win this game by a fairly decent margin and then go on a run and potentially make it all the way to Arlington. You alluded to it at the top, but it starts with the win. I'm going to let you go first on score predictions. I think I already know who you're going to pick, but I want to hear your score.
I'm going Cats, like you said. K-State 35, Texas 21.
I have told people I do too think it's going to be a 2-score game.
Okay.
I feel like K-State can come out. They can be physical like we've talked about. They have playing with so much swagger right now. It's a night game at home, Harley Day. Everything is lining up for K-State here. If it was an 11 a.m. game, maybe it'd be a little bit different. But you get all that extra juice. It's going to be a nice night out. I just don't see there's any way K-State loses this game. I'm going to take K-State 31-20. I think the defense will show up. That's a lot of trips to the red zone, but again, it's that bend but don't break mentality. The offense will do enough. We'll be curious to see who plays quarterback, but again, I don't know that it really matters.
It doesn't. I'm like you. I feel like the defense will stand up and make some big plays. And one thing we talked about off camera, off air before is K-State has a history of whenever we play Texas and Manhattan night games, we have a history of showing up for some reason, and the environment is just different. I don't know what it is, but it's just different. And, you know, and the most popular one is the Big 12 Championship when Colin was a quarterback and Willie was on top of the press box and the place was just going crazy against Texas. I remember having goosebumps there. But I have a hard time believing, although I wasn't there last Saturday, from on TV and talking to people that were there, I have a hard time believing that the environment, the fans, the students won't be even louder come Saturday.
It's going to be a great environment. No matter where you are on Saturday, make sure you enjoy the game. If you're out at the Bill, if you're on your couch watching the game, enjoy it. It's going to be a special time. Thanks, everybody, so much for listening to the Friday Walkthrough. I'm Cole Comrie. That's Monty Spiller. Enjoy the game, and we will talk to you next Friday.
Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
The choice is lightning in a bottle.
When you are associated with something legendary, you're like, what am I supposed to do now?
Witness the inspiring true story of Black Sheep's Drez.
I wound up with the opportunity to make an album from Dilla's catalog.
One of the illest producers ever.
The Choice is Yours exposes the journey of one legend carrying two legacies.
Even if we fall flat on our face, at least we was trying to be ourselves.
Catch the new documentary, The Choice is Yours, now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.